In Velen, parents willingly send their children into a swamp, knowing they will never come back. There are a lot of dark and twisted things in the world of The Witcher. We've got vampires, wraiths, legends, but nothing quite like the three witches that rule Crookback Bog. These are the Crones of Crookback Bog, the so-called Ladies of the Wood. In this video, we're going to break down who the Crones really are, where they came from, how they control the people of Velen, and why they might be some of the most disturbing entities in the entire Witcher universe. If you only listen to the people of Velen, you'd think the Crones were saints. The locals don't call them monsters, they call them Ladies of the Wood, or just the good ladies. When something goes wrong, crops fail, a child falls ill, a curse hits the village, people go to the shrines, leave offerings, whisper prayers, and beg the ladies for help. And the horrible part is, sometimes the Crones do help. The harvest suddenly improves, the illness fades, the monsters stay away from the village. Life goes on, as long as everyone pays the price, and does exactly what the ladies demand. From the outside, it looks like a twisted religion. The Crones aren't just three old hags in the swamp. They are the unofficial rulers of this entire region. Their word is law, and their will is enforced by fear, superstition, and tradition passed down for generations. The games never give us a clean cutscene of the Crones' origin. Instead, we have to piece it together from a book called She Who Knows and from the quest around the spirit in the whispering Hilllock. The story goes like this. A long time ago, a being known as She Who Knows, the Lady of the Wood, or simply the Mother, came to Velen from a far-off land. She wasn't human. She was some kind of powerful nature spirit, deeply tied to the land and its cycles. Lonely in this new world, she shaped three daughters out of dirt and water, the beings we know today as the Crones. Together, the mother and her daughters ruled over all of Velen. The daughters carried the people's requests, acted as their voice, and every spring the locals brought sacrifices to the Lady of the Wood, grain, animals, sometimes men. In return, she protected the land and its people. But over the years, something changed. The Lady of the Wood slowly slipped into madness. Her insanity spread across the land. Men abandoned their homes, wandered into the bog, and became food for beasts. Velen, as the story describes it, started to drown in blood. According to the legend, the three daughters realized their mother would destroy everything. So, during one of the spring rituals, they turned on her. They killed her body and buried it in the bog. Her blood soaked into the earth and nourished an ancient oak tree, which later became known as the Tree on the Whispering Hillock. But the mother's soul couldn't die. It was immortal and bound to the land. So the daughters imprisoned her spirit beneath the tree, where it rages and thrashes into the roots. This is the spirit we meet in the Whispering Hillock quest. From that point on, the daughters, the Crones, became the true sovereigns of Velen. They inherited their mother's domain, but shaped it in their own image, not as guardian of the land, but as three sadistic witches who rule through fear and hunger. Now, is the story completely accurate? Even in-game, there's a hint that this could be propaganda written by Crones followers to make their actions look like justified. Maybe the mother wasn't as mad as they claim. Maybe the Crones simply wanted power. We don't know for sure. And that uncertainty makes the whole thing even creepier. So what does their rule actually look like on the ground? After the death of their mother, the Crones act as the true rulers of Velen's swamps. They help the locals survive, but always for a price. If you're starving, they might fix your harvest. If you're cursed, they might lift it. If monsters attack, they might protect you. But every favor comes with a cost. Grain, blood, bloody parts, or people. Over time, the relationship between the villagers and the Crones becomes a kind of twisted contract. The people of Dawnwarren and the surrounding villages mutilate themselves as offerings. They send children to the orphanage in Crookback Bog, fully aware that these kids are not being taken care of. They're being fattened up and eventually killed and eaten. The people know this on some level. But when New World is that brutal, sacrificing a few in exchange for the survival of the many starts to look like a necessary evil. And that's exactly how the Crones like it. Once a year, this relationship reaches its most horrifying form during the Sabbath at Bald Mountain. Peasants from all over the region travel to the mountain with offerings. 3 beautiful youths are chosen and sent up as guests of the ladies, with the promise that they'll come back enlightened and blessed. In reality, the Crones butcher these youths and cook them into a stew. They devour their flesh and drink their blood to renew their power. Then, using magic and shapeshifting, they put on an illusion of these young people, walk back down the mountain in disguise, and spend a little time with the families, happy, enlightened, full of strange new ideas and confidence. Soon after, the children announce that they are leaving to seek riches, glory, and a better life far away from Velen. The families never see them again. They die believing their sons and daughters moved on, while the real bodies were eaten days ago. This is the genius and cruelty of the Crones. They don't just take your loved ones, they twist reality and memory so that you thank them for it. Even though they act as one unit, each Crone has her own personality and role. Brewess is often seen as the middle sister and the master of brews and flesh. She is obsessed with food, stew, human meat and magical concoctions. She's the one who turns children and sacrifices into soups and elixirs that keep the sisters strong and unnaturally young. Weavess is associated with threads, hair and fate. She weaves magical tapestries often made from human hair cut during special ceremonies for the children of Velen. These tapestries are more than decoration. They are used as a focus to communicate with the villagers and to bind people's lives to the Crone's will. She's also the only Crone who canonically survives the Bald Mountain confrontation long enough to steal Ciri's medallion and, depending on the ending, may be hunted down later. Whispess, the oldest, is linked to whispers, ears and secrets. She demands offerings of human ears, which she then enchants and hangs from trees all over the swamp. Through these ears she can literally listen to everything said in Velen, a kind of magical surveillance network made of flesh. That's why the Crones always seem to know what's happening long before Geralt or the villagers do. Together, the 3 sisters cover everything: the body, Brewess, the threads of destiny and connection, Weavess, and the flow of information and fear, Whispess. So what exactly are the Crones? In the bestiary and various descriptions, they are simply called ancient, monstrous beings. They don't fit neatly into any non-monster category. They wield powerful magic, but it's not the same kind of magic that sorcerers and mages use. Instead, they draw their power from water and earth and are deeply bound to the land in which they live. The bog, the swamps, the trees. This bond is both a strength and a weakness. It makes them incredibly hard to kill within their domain, but it also means they can't just pack up and move somewhere else. They are rooted in Velen like a parasite that can't leave its host. Over the centuries, they've developed several terrifying abilities. They can hear almost everything that happens in their woods through enchanted ears and whispers carried by the wind. They can predict the future and twist the threads of people's lives, offering blessings that always come with a hidden cost. They can take on the appearance of younger women by drinking magical broths made of human victims. This illusion is strong enough to fool villages entirely. And of course, they command monsters, curses and various lesser spirits in and around Crookback Bog. As far as we can tell, the Crones are effectively immortal as long as their magic holds and their connection to the swamp isn't broken. Their bodies are disgusting and decrepit, but their power and awareness are razor sharp. The Crones aren't just random horror creatures, they are built from a lot of mythological and literary influences. First, they clearly mirror the idea of the triple goddess, maiden, mother, crone, that shows up in a lot of religions and even in the cult of Mythological in the Witcher world. 3 female figures representing different stages of life. worshipped as goddess of fertility and fate. The Crones are like a corrupted version of that idea. 3 ladies of the wood who are worshipped as local fertility deities, but who take pleasure in suffering, blood and control instead of protection. There's also a strong connection to Slavic folklore, especially Baba Yaga, the old witch in the forest who lives in a hut, eats people and sometimes appears as 1 or 3 sisters. You can see echoes of that in the Crone's hut, their taste for human flesh and their role as both feared monsters and twisted guardians of the forest. And finally, they have a bit of the Shakespearean witch in them. 3 pathetic old women who stir cauldrons, speak in riddles and meddle with fate, just like the witches in Macbeth. All of this combined makes the Crones feel familiar and alien at the same time. We recognize the fairy tale structure, but the details are so cruel that it goes way beyond a children's story. There are a lot of powerful beings in The Witcher. Higher vampires, the Wild Hunt, Counter Odim. So what makes the Crones stand out? For me, it's this. They are not just monsters that attack you from the dark. They are monsters that an entire community has accepted as normal. The Crones twist some of the most important human ideas. Motherhood. They present themselves as ladies watching over the children of the bog, but in reality they breed, fatten and eat them. Faith. They demand worship, prayers and sacrifices, and in return they do just enough good to keep people dependent. Tradition. The horrors they commit are wrapped in festivals, songs, rituals, and pretty stories about enlightenment and blessings. That's what makes them so unsettling. It's not just the gore, the cannibalism, or the disgusting designs. It's the idea that an entire region has been slowly trained to accept this as the price of survival. Parents walk their children to the edge of the woods knowing they'll never come back, and still do it because that's just how it's always been. The Crones embody a kind of evil that doesn't need armies or world-ending powers. They only need fear, hunger, and hopelessness. Give them a desperate population with nowhere else to turn, and they can sink their claws into land for centuries. So, who are the Crones of Crookback Bog? On paper, they're 3 ancient witches living in a swamp, tied to a half-forgotten mother spirit. But in practice, there's something much more terrifying. The dark side of faith, the corruption of motherhood, and the idea that if the world is cruel enough, people will choose any evil that promises them 1 more year of survival. Let me know in the comments. Do you think the Crones are more disturbing than the higher vampires, Contour Dim, or the White Frost? Who is the true final evil of the Witcher universe in your opinion? If you enjoyed this deep dive and you want more Witcher lore, tell me which twisted topic I should cover next. Thanks for watching, and remember, in the swamps of Velen, the ladies are always listening.